North Korea's first spy satellite launch ended in failure on Wednesday after the space rocket crashed into the sea. The newly developed Cholima-1 rocket was supposed to put in orbit the North's first spy satellite to keep watch on US military activities, in an unusually candid admission of a technical failure by the North. State media KCNA on Wednesday reported the rocket plunged into the sea because of instability in the engine and fuel system. Neighbouring South Korea said it had recovered what is believed to be parts of the space launch vehicle, including this large cylindrical object attached to a buoy. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the projectile fell into waters near the southwestern island of Ochang-do. The North satellite launch on Wednesday triggered air raid sirens and brief evacuation warnings in parts of South Korea and Japan. The notices were withdrawn with no danger or damage reported.
How do they ensure that they can trust in their local authorities? And
Eleanor Shorey Hughes, a non-resident fellow at EconView, a Chicago-based think tank, says there appears to be a sense of complacency among residents in South Korea and Japan.
I feel like every time in this case, if we're talking about North Korea, every time that North Korea fires a missile of some sort, and there's possibility that it may either fly over Hokkaido or be landing within Japan's EEZ, territorial waters, whatever, that people, I'm not entirely sure how serious the Japanese people in this case, or Korean people, or South Korean people will take when it comes to following guidance from authorities.
Japan's foreign ministry on Wednesday said it held a phone call with officials from the US and South Korea, during which all three countries strongly condemned the North's latest launch and agreed to stay vigilant with a high sense of urgency. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also condemned the satellite launch, adding that any launch by Pyongyang using ballistic missile technology was contrary to UN Security Council resolutions. But North Korea remains defiant and is reportedly planning to conduct a second launch as soon as possible.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return, and India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony.